to overhaul the charge of that V12 from the Jaguar.
Something we haven't spoken about too much, of course, is tyre wear in this race. We're on the last lap now. These Group C machines, they are rear-wheel drive, and all that power is going through the rear tyres, whereas Serrano in the four-wheel drive Audi has a little bit of an advantage there in terms of acceleration and cornering grip. So this we might be seeing now those Group C cars just starting to struggle as we get to the end of this 10-lap race here at Monza. Someone, though, who hasn't struggled at all during this race is Valerio Gallo. Had one moment at the start of the race where he was overtaken by Jose Serrano, this man, but then pulled back by in his 908 Peugeot and just basically drove away into the distance. There he is now, 4 seconds ahead of Baptiste Beauvoir, his main rival.
Absolutely incredible. Serrano's now ahead of Coque Lopez for 4th position on the final lap then, so this is going to change things in the points rankings as we come into the grand final. That's double points, but we've got to focus on this man here of Valerio Gallo. So, let's see what's going to happen here. Lopez now back ahead of Serrano, but this is the corner exit where that Audi's going to close up, but it's going to be, I think, a little bit too little too late for Jose Serrano to try and find his way past, unless he sends it down the inside at the Parabolica and just prays for dear life that he can hold on in the final couple of metres. So here is Valerio Gallo. It's 2 from 2 for the Italian driver. He wins race 2 at Monza. Baptiste Beauvoir comes home second, and Adam Tapai, a well-deserved podium in 3rd position. 4th place for Coque Lopez means he's tied on points at the end of race 2 with Jose Serrano in 5th position ahead of Mangano, Mariglino. Then comes Moitov, Blajan and Sassuolo sneaking into the top 10 at the end of that one. What a brilliant race there for all of our drivers, and what a great demonstration once more of his skill for Valerio Gallo. Absolutely phenomenal.
A great race at Monza. I mean, it was always going to be with that spread of Group 1 cars. What can we say? Something we might have missed right at the end. Hopefully we can chat about that in a second. It's Mariglino and Mangano finished just 300ths apart at the end there. So a proper sprint to the line, but of course, man that stole the show, again, Valerio Gallo.
Yeah, I don't know how he seems to do it. Just week in, week out, he is just imperious at the moment, isn't he? Steve, what did you make of that race? I mean, there was just some brilliant racing from start to finish, up and down the order, wasn't there, really? We really enjoyed that one. What were the highlights for you?
Well, really just the sheer amount of overtaking that was going on, as I sort of alluded to in the intro, because of course the Group 1 cars are so varied, there's always going to be so much opportunity to go past each other. But yeah, the highlight for me, Gallo at the front, again, with another perfect performance. He didn't really put a foot wrong at all.
It really was great to see that dominance out there. And when I was talking to him earlier on, of course, with the feature we had earlier on in the 908, he said, well, this is my car, I've been practicing in it, I know all about it. And you could really just see that. He was chatting away and just making me look stupid. Well, that's not really very hard, is it?
Quite.
Thinking about that.
No, that is very true, actually, as well. So what about the difference in the performance between the Group C machines and the LMP1s? Because we saw that the likes of the Audi R18, the modern one, that it was just so much better on corner exit, but just going into the straights, it was just a sitting duck, wasn't it? Serrano just moved backwards.
Yeah, definitely. I wanted to sort of talk to Steve about that a little bit. I mean, how do you even defend in that situation? If you're Serrano, you've got a Group C car going, boom. What do you do?
You almost have to accept it. You have to make a decision quite early. Am I going to defend it and waste my own time, or am I just going to let him go past? And I think ultimately, he sort of decided. I could see the LMP1 cars were struggling in that race, and I think they decided, okay, there's not much I can do. I'm just going to have to race my own race.
The point standings as it sits after race 2, Valerio Gallo on 24 points. Not a bad race at all there for the Italian driver. Baptiste Beauvoir, though, just 4 points adrift ahead of the double points grand final. Serrano and Lopez tied for 3rd position, 14 points apiece for the Spaniards ahead of the Italian of Giorgio Mangano and Adam Tapai. Both also tied on points for 5th position in the standings on 11 each. Then Rick Kevlam and Nikita Moisov doing exactly the same thing. So this is going to be an exciting last one.
Well, definitely. Of course, a little reminder for you guys, top 8 go through to the World Finals. And right now, Gallo, Beauvoir, Serrano and Lopez looking like the ones probably in contention for victory here today.
Who are the danger men? Who are the drivers who've really got to be keeping themselves on their toes for this last one?
Well, the thing is, if I was Gallo, I'd be just looking out for Beauvoir, because he's the person who can upset this for us. If he gets by and wins the last race, they'll be, I think, tied on points, if my maths is correct. Probably isn't. But definitely one to watch, especially if he gets into a little bit of a fight, maybe there's a bit of contact. You know, you just want a clean race if you're Gallo right now.
So much going on in race 2, it was really difficult to keep up with it all. So we're going to look back at some of the more exciting moments that we might have missed and give a quick analysis on those. So starting off here, let's start with the start, shall we? This is Jose Serrano starting second, but you can see here the LMP hybrid power at the very beginning. It was absolutely ridiculous how much speed that thing has. You see him just go flying straight into the lead instantly, and Gallo having no reply. This is Swedish driver Malky with a mistake into the Ascari chicane. Very easy to do. Look how much time he loses. About 5 seconds, which is about a year in motorsport. Magano meeting a similar fate here by going a little bit wide on the entry into the parabolic at the final corner, but then he began his fight back here against Soswillo. You can see. Look how far back he starts from. About more than 10 car lengths, and eventually gets onto the back of him, and he's going to pull the move into the new first chicane, the Della Rogers chicane. So he began his fight back, and Magano back on the path to recovery. So this was Polish driver Martin Swiderek. He actually qualified really well, qualified 5th place, which you could say he might have out-qualified himself, because then later in the race he began to get a little bit bullied, I must say. You see again run wide by Moisov, and that's where his decline began. He started 5th, ended up 11th. And then we have Serrano. We saw him at the start. Started really well, but then he kind of ran out of juice. And this is his attempted fight back on Koke Lopez on lap 10 of 10. It was actually a really good fight here, a classic battle of LMP against Group C power. So you can see here the LMP going through, but then eventually running out of gas as Lopez then just easily just goes back past him. So a really good fight there between the two of them on the final lap. So that was a quick look at that race. A really, really interesting race, and I thought it would be. Group 1 around that circuit. There was such a mix of cars, and it made for some really exciting overtakes throughout the entirety of the race.
Now, we've got something very cool coming up now, and it's something that we've not really ever had the opportunity to do before. Now, you might know I do a little bit of racing at home, and so does our analyst, Steve Brown, Super GT. So we thought, why not settle things once and for all? 1v1. Let's see who comes out on top. It is the Gran Turismo Regional Final, World Final, Jimmy and Steve, 1-on-1 series. I think that's all right.
I think that's a good ring to it, actually, and I'm really, really looking forward to it. So we're going to be racing at Spa in the Red Bull X 2019, which is coming up in the first regional final in the MEA.
So this is the first time we've actually raced each other ever, like 1v1. So obviously I have to win, otherwise my career's over. It's the same for Steve as well. But the main point of this, really for us, is to sort of try and get a taste of what the real finals are going to be like with the fast drivers, what sort of moves we can expect from them.
No jump in the start, right?
All about that. How do you start these cars? Okay, easy.
Yeah, these cars are very tricky off the line.
Oh, look at the start! Look at the start! Oh. You'd love to see that. So, the source for the first time. I know Steve's there on the inside. Oh, he's driven me out wide. He's driven me out. But
you want to be there, don't you?
Yeah, that's Steve's first mistake, because now I get the slipstream all the way up till they come. So there we are, through a route. I'm going to just make sure I'm far enough back here so I get a nice big draft, and then, oh, look at this. You'll love to see this. You'll love to see this. Goodbye, mate. I'll see you later. On the way through.
No! Don't do it. I'm still going to outbrake you.
I'm quite scared for that. Oh, I braked so late. There he is.
Oh, mate.
Absolutely embarrassed. We're just driving out outside the circuit and we're through. So that's really important, because now I'm ahead going into the middle sector, and dirty air in this thing is massive.
Yes, I'm about to find out just how horrific that is. Through these, oh my god, I almost lost it there. This one's a tricky exit. And then this corner coming up, Puon's going to be really difficult in the dirty air.
I'm not sure how fast I can take this, I think.
Just brake. Just go down to first gear, I'd say.
The other behind, there he is.
Oh, all over the grass.
Yeah, mate.
I'm not sure that's the line.
I reckon it could be. I'm actually concentrating a bit too hard for this. I can't lose to Steve. I will never hear the end of it.
I can't lose to Jimmy. Oh my god, I almost pinned it.
In you go. Steve, don't you play this game? Like,
no, never heard of it.
Okay, now this is where I'm in danger, because now Steve's got the toe all the way up towards Blanchemont. What am I going to do here?
I don't know if I want to be ahead. I don't know where I need to be ahead. This is the tactical thing about this track.
So I'm going to just be annoying now. I'm going to be annoying.
What are you going to do?
It is. Right in the middle of the circuit. Oh, I don't know where he is. Oh no, I've ruined that. Oh no! Okay, one lap down, but now I'm in the bad place.
You can stay there.
Yeah. Oh no, Steve, I've gone wide, mate.
Oh, so have I.
Go. How do you
What a
do this?
coincidence! I just made the same mistake as you.
I mean, the thing is, it'll be a little bit more subtle with our guys later on.
Yeah, we're definitely not as good as the finalists. Let's put it that way.
Where's he going? Where's he going?
Oh, where are you? Oh, that was an early lift. And come back for a reply, are you? Okay.
Gonna give it a go. Oh, look at this!
Very
Look at this!
defensive.
Come on!
Is it Mossberg Hamilton? Oh. I was going to see you in the sand then.
This is just me shrieking this entire video. So now it's my turn to suffer in the dirty air.
The filthy air. Oh my god.
This guy's slow, man.
These cars are actually very tricky to drive.
They make them look a lot easier, don't they,
Oh,
when they drive these things?
Yeah.
I'm really having trouble. Oh, absolutely sending it through the middle there.
Where is he?
Just tactically falling back a little bit, just tactically.
Tactical,
you know?
yeah.
Nothing to do with my pace being terrible. Not this guy.
Unrelated.
Oh, he's putting away now.
We've only got one sector to go.
Oh no, oh no, oh
You need that slipstream, mate, up the hill. Into
no. Gentlemen will wait,
chicane.
you know. Gentlemen will wait, I think, for this.
Well, that's not me, I'm afraid.
Okay, I've got 8 tenths.
I've got to get a good start in this series,
Come on.
you know?
Come on.
Oh, see you later, mate.
No, he's running away.
You're going to have to go for the almighty dive bomb.
I mean, if you're inviting it, it's just coming. Gonna do my best Baptiste by War impression. Oh no!
I'm watching the radar.
Not even I could do that. Oh no!
Yes, come on.
That was my best chance as well.
1-0.
So then, we are about ready for the grand final for the EMEA Regional Online Final. It is going to be hugely exciting, this one, Jimmy Broadbent. Spa-Francorchamps, Red Bull H2019s. We've seen before that can be an explosive combination. I think we should be expecting a bit more of the same with so much up for grabs.
It's classic, isn't it? We've seen how important the toe is in races beforehand. Exactly the same in this Red Bull X 2019. Big run from the source up to Lake Combe. That's where overtaking, I think, we're going to see most of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's take a closer look, shall we, at the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps then. So, a track really that needs no introduction. It's got about 20 adventures per lap over the course of this one. You can see infamous corners including Blanchimont, Eau Rouge and Radion, Les Combes, Malmedy, Rivage, Pouhon. Circuit corners that you will all be familiar with, I am sure, and the elevation change is certainly something to behold as well. You can see right at the very top of the circuit, all the way down to the very bottom, 104 metres long, so it is. Look forward to seeing how these drivers will fare over the course of this one, especially in such high downforce machinery. You can see the circuit details, the race details on your screen now at the moment. And interestingly, for the first time today here, Jimmy, we have 3 tyre compounds available for the drivers at 20 laps. They're going to have to use all 3 of these and presumably make 3 or potentially even more stops than that.
Yeah, longer race this one. Of course, there's 2 sprints before. This is the Enduro, so to speak. 6 times tyre wear as well, with a rolling start. So with all tyres being used once, you will see a different plethora of strategies we always tend to see in these things. So they'll be practicing both areas there, basically. So I think element of trying to get your lap time down, also trying to work out all the tricky strategy bits.
Yeah, absolutely. Steve, what do you reckon for strategy and indeed for this grand final? What's your take on it?
Yeah, so for today, race 3, the first race with actual strategy. And you might be wondering why you're seeing only 1 lap on the hard tyre. You're not seeing much green on that graphic there. So that's probably going to be the likely strategy, 1 lap at the end or 1 lap at the start on the hard tyre. And then you can see there an even split between the soft and the medium throughout the race.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed there, Steve. So we're about ready then for qualifying to get underway here. Of course, a similar format to what we've seen. As we know, everyone's had to qualify for each race individually, unlike when we've had previous events where they just go from based on the grid results. So this could be hugely important, this part of the event, because, of course, the top 8 from the 16 competitors will go through to our world final. So what do you reckon for this one? How are they going to be channeling this and processing it going into it?
You know, I think from what we've learned earlier, we've seen a couple of practices before. I think that you're going to be starting second, don't you? Not first. You get that toe all the way up the hill. So Anywhere towards front of the grid, good. Otherwise, don't get mixed up in the pack. Otherwise, you're going to just lose time.
Well, there we are. Let's get ready then, shall we? And see what happens in qualifying. Baptiste Beauvoir exits the pit lane then, ahead of qualifying for the grand final. The Frenchman then, with it all to do, sitting second in the standings as we know, and of course double points for this grand final are going to make things very interesting indeed up to the top of the hill through Eau Rouge and Radion, and of course very limited window of opportunity for these drivers to set their lap times as well. So it's all to do around this, and it's not a short lap, so it's prone for drivers to make mistakes.
It is, and the most important sector I think around here is that middle sector, especially in these cars. These X2019, I mean, you're likely familiar with them by now if you're a fan of our GT Sports broadcast. Very much hope you are, of course. And these things, all about downforce, all about cornering speed and braking capability, which means this middle sector, which is pretty much that summed up, is all the more important. Down the straight, it's usually just a matter of put your foot down and aim it in the right direction, but through here, it's very much a challenge for the drivers. Here's Valerio Gallo, our current leader on points at the moment. Again, a reminder, the top 8 drivers in the points at the end of this race will go through to our World Finals. Everybody else, try again next time. Here is Coque Lopez, someone who has been at pretty much every event ever. I've never seen him not be at one. But just never quite where he wants to be, never quite on that top step. Usually not even the second or third step either.
No, well, aside from the World Final last year, of course, let's not forget where he was actually very strong behind the wheel of these Rebel X 2019, so maybe that'll give him some confidence going into this grand final. Needs a bit of a turnaround, of course, battling with Jose Serrano in the standings. Here is Giorgio Mangano, a driver who's had, I think by his standards, I'd say an off day really, more than anything. He's not been close to the fight at the front. He's not really sort of been anywhere. He's been a little bit anonymous over the course of this one, fighting in the lower half of the top 10.
It happens sometimes. Sometimes you just don't quite get the momentum. You don't quite have. It's hard to explain. Once you're out there and you're convinced that you can go quick, you tend to go quick. As soon as you have your confidence knocked in some way, it can really affect you negatively. It can really disturb your attitude, as I'm sure anyone out there who does any racing will know. So here's a driver's eye view then on the way through Rouge and Radion. You can see in this car it's just flat out, easy, no worries. But the next bit is the important bit. So Baptiste Beauvoir on board with the Frenchman. What can he do? He has to win this race to win the European regional final and become European champion, as of course many greats have before him, including Mikhail Hazel, as we now come through this sector now. A bit wide on the curve there, might have slowed him down a little bit through to Rivage, trying to hug the inside line and then let the car drift out late in the corner. Now through to X, again use the downforce through here. You've got to be careful on that inside curve though, very easy to cut the track there, and if you do that, you do invalidate your lap time. Now Pouan, a little bit of a lift and a turn in these cars, right on the edge there, the car being pushed to the floor by the air, rushing over all the wings and winglets as we come in now to the pit path of the Fagnes chicane. Third gear, fourth gear corner through here. Just let it go through, nice and easy. Now into Stavelot and Stavelot 1 and Stavelot 2. A little bit easy there, going through the right-hander. Maybe a little bit too pedestrian. Didn't quite use the track as well on the exit at the moment. And now we go up towards Blanchimont, a flat-out left-hander. And we get a right proper view here on board with Baptiste Beauvoir. Chuck the car in, I say chuck it in. Minute, minimal adjustment of the wheels, try and lose scrubbing speed as possible. And now we go into the bus stop chicane. And what sort of time will we see here from Baptiste Beauvoir? He's going to set our first time sideways coming out of the last corner on a mid-54 for a good time. He does even better than that, a low 1:53.2.
So then, here is Valerio Gallo over the timing line, a 1:53.5 work for him to do. Coque Lopez there in third position at the moment. And where is he going to sit as he comes over the line? He splits Beauvoir and Gallo. Jose Serrano is also looking pretty handy here as well, very fast in the first sector. Let's see whether he can turn that into a promising result come the checkered flag. Mangano goes third quickest, so Gallo's lap was not hot at all, and he is plummeting down the order. What about Adam Tapai, a man who was on the podium, of course, in race 2? Over the timeline comes the Hungarian. He goes fourth quickest, demoting Valerio Gallo down to fifth. So this is a disaster for the Italian so far. Very much so. Here's Jose Serrano, only a attempt down the middle sector. This could be a nice time for him if he's neat and tidy at the bus stop. Goes across the line, goes second fastest, just behind Baptiste Beauvoir. Very small gap there between him and the pole sitter. Rick Kevlin quick in his day as well, showing that he can be quick here, up into third provisionally
This is terrible for Valerio Gallo. He's going to be right down the order here. That's not what he wants going into the final, but it's exactly what Baptiste Beauvoir wants. Here comes Malky. What can he do? The Swedish driver, his first time here at one of the events. Unfortunately, a little bit off the pace of 1:53.9.
The next group out then, warming their tyres up. Marcus Collinan, the Finn, can he do anything? Let's go over to Steve then. So, Steve, what do you make of Valerio Gallo? Difficult qualifying lap there for him, and well, he plummeted down. He's 7th so far.
Yeah, it's a really, really close field, as you can see with the times. I was just looking at his sector times, and he just messed up the first sector. So I think mainly just coming through the La Source hairpin where you can lose so much time, and just 3/10 in that sector alone.
Problem is, of course, if you do get that corner wrong, you lose time all the way down to Les Combes. So, Steve, while we have you here now, what's going through his head? I mean, he is leading on points, but he's got a massive cast between him and his closest rival. What do you do in this situation?
Yeah, that's the main thing he's got to be worried about right now, the gap between himself, the amount of people between himself and his main rival. So all he's got to do is just really just get his head down and just overtake as many people as he can.
So giving himself a big old workload then has Valerio Gallo in this race, as it remains to be seen where he will end up as the next group of drivers out on their next flying laps, or their only flying laps, of course, in this race, being a Super Pole format. Soft tyres, of course, for all of these drivers. Just to remind you, of course, this is the only race where we have 3 different tyre compounds available for our drivers to try. Here is Salvatore Mariclino, who has been battling kind of all weekend long, really, with Giorgio Mangano. Let's see whether he is going to be able to do something here as he comes down through Pouon, just getting the heat into the tyres and the brakes, and of course making sure that he's got adequate room on the circuit as well, because the last thing you want is to be close to a driver behind, especially coming through these medium speed corners. So Marcus Collinan then lining himself up for his only flying lap in this one over the timing line. Now talk us down through into La Source. How important is that exit out of that hairpin? Then look at Carlos Salazar. Let's see what he does.
Well, we saw, didn't we? We saw what happened to Gallo getting it wrong. Let's see what Salazar does here. Late braking into here. You almost want to touch the wall on the way through, and then just straight line the exit. Oh, and there you go. So that's exactly what you don't want to see, is that big kick of oversteer, because now you've lost time all the way down to Les Combes, and he'll know that as well. And it's not really been a great final, I think, for Salazar so far. He's not had the run of luck. I don't think he's had the confidence in the car, and it shows. He's just not been anywhere near the sharp end where we know he can be.
Yeah, we know that, and we know that some drivers favour more downforce cars, some favour less downforce cars. It's an interesting kettle of fish, and let's see what Salazar is going to be able to do. He's a tenth of a second down already in that first sector. One wonders whether he's going to carry that. Now, Marcin Swideric, a guy who qualified, of course, very well in race 2, inside the top 10 very firmly, very impressive, especially given that it is his first ever final result then. So coming through Les Combes and then through into the right-hander. Let's see what his first sector time is going to be. Will it be anything to write home about? Doesn't look to be anything too impressive at the moment, but not bad nonetheless. And of course, this could all play into the hands of these other drivers, especially Baptiste Beauvoir, who currently sits at the top of the order with his championship rival, Valerio Gallo, down in 7th position. Now, what about Patrick Blajan? We know he's pretty handy behind the wheel of these. He and Beauvoir had a nice little ding-dong in the world final last year.
Yeah, I mean, Blajan, when he wants to do well, he does well, it seems. He's a weird one. You never know, like, what sort of result you're going to get from him. Sometimes he's the fastest out there by quite some way. Others, he just doesn't really seem to warrant any mention, which is harsh to say, but that's sort of been how this final's been from him this time around. Collinan, what's he going to do?
8th fastest at the moment then, so second to the bottom as it stands with all the times that have been set. 8th quickest as he sits. Here's Carlos Salazar. He goes 9th quickest then. So Valerio Gallo breathing a bit of a sigh of relief that he's not going further down the order than that. What about Adam Sassuolo? He wasn't on too bad of a lap here at all. He comes over the timing line. 3rd quickest. Wow! Where's that lap time come there from Adam Sassuolo? He's really pulled it out right at the end of this session. What about Marcin Swideric? It's not anything to write home about, and it's only 12th fastest there for Swideric, so the pole has got a lot of work to do then into race conditions. What about Salvatore Mariclino? He's ready to come over the timing line, not too far away from Beauvoir. He was, but it is only 7th best at the end of this session then. So here is Patrick Blajan out of the final corner over the timing line. What is Blajan going to do? 6th quickest. Gallo is going to be 10th fastest as it stands. Now Nikita Moisov isn't too far away. He's only just under 2/10 adrift of this, so he could be ready to get himself inside the top 10 if he has a strong final sector. Over the timeline comes the Czech driver, and he goes just outside. 11th quickest there for Nikita Moisov. One final lap to come then from Manu Rodriguez. Out of the bus stop, over the timeline comes the Spaniard, and he will go just 14th fastest at the end of that session. So Baptiste Beauvoir takes pole position ahead of the grand final for the EMEA region, ahead of Jose Serrano and Adam Sassuolo. Very impressive result for both of those, all three of those drivers, but a lot of work to do then for Valerio Gallo ahead of this grand final. My goodness me, we are setting ourselves up for an absolute treat here. So the qualifying standings then do sit with Baptiste Beauvoir on pole position once again ahead of Jose Serrano. Adam Sassuolo, great lap at the end of qualifying then for the grand final. Third quickest, not bad.
Unexpected. I mean, I don't know discredits Adam at all, but he's not had the best run today. I think he's suddenly going, oh, I've got to do well here. It's double points, isn't it? So now he's finally switched into high gear, it seems. Someone, of course, the big news, Gallo. 10th place. And we know he has better pace than that, but I don't really see, he's got such a big gap between him and Beauvoir now. It's going to be a race of his life if he wants to be European champion.
Steve, he's got a mountain to climb. How's he going to overturn that deficit that he had in qualifying in the race?
Yeah, he really has got a very big mountain to climb from 10th place. It was amazing how close he was. He was only 2/10 behind Beauvoir. It was only 2/10. It was really not much at all. But, he has only a 4-point margin at the moment. But with a double points race coming up, there's a very good chance that his big rival is going to outscore him here. So he really does need to get a move on through the field as quickly as possible.
I mean, it's going to make things very exciting for us. Double points, of course, on offer here for this grand final as well. So Beauvoir, if he romps away into the distance, and we know he's pretty handy behind the wheel of these cars, he could be in for, well, a very promising end to this weekend.
That's all Beauvoir's got to do, basically. Just make sure he's leading into late common on lap 1 and just drive away to do what he does best.
Lovely stuff then. Let's go then, shall we, and get the grand final for the EMEA region underway. It's time then for the grand final. Here's how the grid lines up. Baptiste Beauvoir is on pole position, the Frenchman, with Jose Serrano lining up alongside him. Then the second row of the grid, that's headed by Adam Sassuolo. Great qualifying from the Briton. Can he convert it, though, into a strong result? He's got Rick Kevelan for company alongside him. The next row of the grid is headed by the Spaniard Coque Lopez, one of his better performances that we've seen in the X 2019. Let's see what happens under racing conditions with Patrick Blajan for company, again an X 29 speed team specialist alongside. Giorgio Mangano heads up P7. Alongside him is Salvatore Maraclino, an all-Italian row there. Just inside the top 10 is Adam Tapai in P9. And on the fringes of it, Valerio Gallo down in 10th position. A lot of work to do for the driver who is fighting for the championship here today. Nikita Moisov lines up P11. And alongside him in P12 is Marcus Conlon, the Finnish driver. Towards the back of the grid, you can see Carlos Salazar lines up P13. Unlucky for some, but hopefully it won't be for him here today. Manu Rodriguez lines up alongside him. And then the 8th and final row of the grid is comprised of the Swede of Christopher Mauki, down there in P15. And in 16th place is Marcin Swiderek, the Polish driver. Baptiste Beauvoir leads the field away then from their starting grid, and he starts on pole position for this one, just to remind you as well. But the big talking point, Valerio Gallo, the points leader, he is down in 10th position on the grid, and he's bolted the hard tyres on straight away here, Jimmy. What's the tactics for that?
Yeah, we were discussing this before the race started. Hard tyre, I think, is the way to go. He's going to try get round, get in the pits as soon as he can, and then just have free air and go for it. And then that way, instead of having 9 people in front of him, he should only have 2, as the Maraglino to play has gone for the same strategy. Interestingly, as you said, both were on the medium, so I guess maybe trying to make the best of his start, and Serrano going for an aggressive strategy on that soft tyre. Watch out for him, he's been good all weekend.
Baptiste Beauvoir leads the field over the line. The grand final for the EMEA region here at Spa-Francorchamps is underway. Baptiste Beauvoir leads the field over the line and down towards La Source for the first of 20 times. He's on the medium tyres. Jose Serrano in second position is on the softer compound, so expect him to be quick. He's going to try and get himself ahead of Beauvoir as soon as he possibly can. And the run out of La Source for these drivers up through Eau Rouge and Radion is going to be the crucial tipping point in this race, potentially for many. Let's see what's going to happen then. Up through Eau Rouge, up into Radion we go, and down the Kemmel straight then. And look at the run that Serrano has got on Baptiste Beauvoir. He pulls alongside Beauvoir. He's alongside the Frenchman. He's on the outside. They're running side by side, and Serrano is through into the race lead before the braking zone. Look at Kemmel. He's going through, trying to on the inside of Coque Lopez, but he has to relinquish it. Lopez into 4th position there, so a nice clean start from all of these drivers as they filter their way down into turn 8 of Rivage.
I think Beauvoir went for the medium tyre because he sort of foresaw this happening. He knew that he was going to have Serrano right up behind him on the first sector, so why even try fight? Why then just let Serrano go on that soft tyre, not worry about him, and then just focus on his own race on that medium tyre in his own clean air. Meanwhile, Coco Lopez also on that soft tyre, trying to get by Adam Sosquillo right now, who's holding third place on board with Rick Kevlin, also on that soft compounder tyre. So right now, Baptiste Beauvoir holding these guys up. Coco Lopez goes for a dive at the pit back there, maybe a little bit late on the brakes, but Sosquillo gave him the room in the end to let Coco Lopez through, and up into third goes the Spaniard. Now Sosquillo, what can he do in this grand final? He's not had a good weekend up until now, but I think this is the time to shine. Double points, of course, an offer here as well. It's a long race, so a lot of time to think about it. So this is where he really needs to have a good result. Baptiste Beauvoir now looking in his mirror, I'm sure, aware that Coque Lopez on that soft compound tyre is coming to try and join his countrymen at the top of the field.
Is under investigation between Moisov and Salazar in that first lap as well. Warning against Carlos Salazar as a result of that. Sosquillo very close behind Coque Lopez, but Lopez, of course, on the quicker of the 2 compound of tyres. Now Beauvoir is going to be coming under a bit of pressure, one would imagine, from the Spaniard before too long. Now Gallo, Maraglino coming into the pit lane then. So the hard tyre runners, as expected, getting off of them as soon as they possibly can. The minimum time they have to run it for is 1 lap, and everybody getting off of those hard tyres, getting onto the soft compound of tyre. The crucial thing here for Valerio Gallo, he needs some clean air after this pit stop. He needs to emerge with nobody in front of him, which he has been able to do so he can just run his own race for a little bit and set a bit of pace here as they're ready to change hands for second position, because here comes Lopez on Beauvoir on the Kemmel straight. So Swillow's not too far adrift of this. A great view from Kevlin's car. Lopez is through into second ahead of the Frenchman.
This could be interesting now. So we're trying to watch the entire grid at the same time. Gallo he's currently stuck behind Maraglino on that medium tyre, but he'll be by him soon, I imagine. I think he's going to pass him now. Yeah, there you go. Past he goes on the scorecard on the left there. And his goal really is to run in clear air for as long as possible and hope that Baptiste Beauvoir at the front of the field, we see him there in the blue car, gets caught up in his corner. Oh, he spun! Beauvoir spun his round, and we've just cut away right at the wrong second there, but Beauvoir has spun, he falls down the order, there he goes, rejoins in second position behind Patrick Plajan. Oh, what a disaster. We should hopefully have a replay of that at some point to show you what happened there, but I think he just got loose on the exit there of X, and it's so easy to do. We've seen so many drivers make that same mistake, and Beauvoir now handing the advantage to Valerio Gallo.
Well, we talk about pressure quite a lot in the FIA Gran Turismo Championship. That's a perfect example of cracking under it for Baptiste Beauvoir. Could that potentially cost him a chance at the EMEA regional title here, and will it demote him down into second position? Let's see what happens then. Here is Sosquillo under pressure from Rick Kevlin into the bus stop. Sosquillo tries to go defensive on the brakes. Kevlin is very much closer, of course, very much quicker as well on that softer compound of tyre coming out of that bus stop now. Those two of Kevlin and Mangano, who we're riding on board with, need to get past Sosquillo as soon as they possibly can to try and get the benefit of their race and the benefit of the soft tyres. Let's have a look at a replay then of the incident with Baptiste Beauvoir. Incident under investigation for Valerio Gallo ignoring the track limit. Let's see what happened here for Beauvoir. Out of X on the curb. Oh, just got on the power a bit too greedy. Bang into the wall. Fortunately, he didn't spin it round and face the wrong way. Was able to have a bit of damage limitation there. Sits in 7th position.
He actually did a lot better than I thought he would there. Managed, as you said, not spinning the car, which has lost him a lot of time. Meanwhile, this battle for third still going strong. Kevlin being pushed by Giorgio Mangano past Adam Sassuolo. These guys have a history, of course, and again, more contact between the two. So these guys have had a history of contact at various events, and here's another example now. So I'm sure no playing nice for Mangano now. Gloves are off, and he always wants to try and get past Sassuolo as soon as he can, because all the time he's behind the Brit, he's just losing time on that soft compound tyre.
So out of X they go. Oh, and a penalty for Valerio Gallo. He was under investigation for ignoring track limits. A 1-second penalty there for Valerio Gallo. Is that now advantage of Baptiste Beauvoir as a result of that? 1.6 seconds the gap sits between Beauvoir and Valerio Gallo. Steve, did you see what happened there with Valerio?
Yes, it was actually very interesting. He came out of the pit lane just ahead of Maraglino, but he let him pass, slipstream back past him, but then when he went back past him, he went a little bit wide, coming into the late chicane, so that's why he got the 1-second penalty.
Interesting, really. I mean, needless, but here you go. There is the battle on track right now. Baptiste Beauvoir, who is yet to stop, versus Valerio Gallo, who has stopped at the moment with a 1-second penalty. The life points rankings aren't quite correct at the moment, so we won't go to those. I think they are, sorry, apologies. So Gallo would still win at the moment where he is right now. Serrano will be second, but it doesn't matter because Gallo's about to upset that order altogether and drives past Baptiste Beauvoir up into 7th place. Now he will have to serve that penalty though, coming on to the straights. That's going to slow him right down again, and Baptiste might have a chance to get back through. Now, the second isn't really going to cover the time that Baptiste lost in the spin, though, I don't think, Tom.
No, one wouldn't think so there, but it could cost potentially Baptiste 3 positions in the final point standings. Just to remind you, of course, if you have just joined us, that there is double points in this grand final. It's the play for between Valerio Gallo and Baptiste Beauvoir, the two men you're looking at on your screen at the moment. They are battling for top honours in the EMEA region. They will all get through, or both rather, get through to the grand final regardless of what happens, but it could be potentially different in terms of the order. Now Mangano and Sassuolo are going toe-to-toe once more. Sassuolo on the medium couple of time, Mangano on the soft. The Italian now ahead of the Briton once again, so he's through into 4th place here.
There it is. So it was kind of interesting, really, let's be honest. So Sassuolo couldn't really defend there from Mangano. The straight line speed with the draft, it's hard to be able to keep someone behind you there. Plus with the tyres as well. He did well to hold these guys up for as long as he did. Now it's strategy time. What do you do now if it happens to Sassuolo? Just try and put in some nice clean lap, trying to lose more time to the cars behind you, because Adam actually is a proper contender for this race as well as Serrano and Lopez. So we'll see what they do as the race goes forward. Here's Beauvoir and Gallo at the moment, our 2 leaders on points so far this weekend. Beauvoir second, Gallo first overall at the moment, of course, but still a lot of pit stops to come. The race is yet to show how it's going to pan out. That's the fun of these races. It's not over like that. It's a proper endurance thing, this, and you have to really keep an eye on everyone. Otherwise, you get lost quite easy.
Yeah, let's see what is going to happen with our drivers then. So Valerio Gallo out of Stavolo 2, they come, and in toward Blanchimont. So soft compound of tyres here for Valerio Gallo. He's going to be a bit quicker than Baptiste Beauvoir. Got a great run in the slipstream as well. Coming to the inside into Blanchimont. Has to back out at the last moment. Beauvoir had track position there, and Gallo not wanting to take too many risks on lap number 4. He's already had a 1-second penalty, and would rather that wasn't the case, especially with his rival in the EMEA Regional Championship. A good run though under the bus stop may be something there for Valerio Gallo. No opportunity presenting itself at the moment down in towards La Source, and Beauvoir, the quicker of the 2 drivers last time around. So over the line and down through La Source we go. Now this is where Valerio Gallo's opportunity to find his way through is. And if you're Gallo, do you want to get yourself ahead of Beauvoir as soon as you can and just get yourself in clear air?
100%. You're being held up right now if you're Gallo. Beauvoir is on the medium tyres, so it's just having to follow him and go at his speed. And Beauvoir knows that. That's why he's trying to keep him behind, because he knows he's got time to try and make back. So Beauvoir goes defensive. Gallo's going to go now to the outside. Will Beauvoir come across to squeeze him? No, he won't. I think he just can't quite defend that, so decided to, okay, fair enough, I'll leave that as it is. And Gallo then goes up into 7th place, and now he has to get away. He has to push as hard as possible, because right now Serrano and Coco Lopez are the ones he has to keep an eye on.
So here are the live points rankings on the right-hand side of your screen. As it stands, Valerio Gallo would lead the way with 28 points at the end of this EMEA region, ahead of Jose Serrano, the man who leads the race hardly spoken about him over the course of this one. Him and Coque Lopez would sit in second and third if it stays as it is. But of course, strategy and pit stops still to come in this one. Beauvoir, as a result of the mistake he has made in this race, where he ended up in the barrier on the outside of turn number 9, would be down into 4th position ahead of Giorgio Mangano. So that would be a very unwelcome result for the Frenchman. Let's see how things play out. Still just under 15 laps now remaining here in this grand final, and still plenty of time, as we know, for things to change. And I think it just goes to show, really, as we saw in qualifying, one simple mistake like Gallo made in his qualifying lap and like Beauvoir has made under race conditions can just cost you so much.
Well, it is at this level, you know, you can't afford to be making mistakes like that at all. Otherwise, it just comes back to bite you straight away. Now, Coque Lopez, hello.
Where's he come from?
Okay. He's looking fast at the moment. Maybe I was talking about him earlier on. He does this. So I say, Coque's not done too well recently. And suddenly, you know, he comes from nowhere and he's now fighting for the lead. In fact, I think he's going to take the lead here. Here's Serrano. What can he do? Not much, apart from sit there and give Coque Lopez a tow. Watch his countryman just drive past there. Goodbye, Jose, says Coque. And he comes up to Lecom. He'll take that position and then just pull away to the middle sector. Coque Lopez up to the lead.
Let's see whether Coque can end up on top at the end of this one then. He certainly seems to have the pace, the confidence and the car underneath him to do exactly that as things stand. The crucial question is, can he pull out a gap? In terms of lap times, he is the quickest man on circuit. Last time around, he was half a second quicker than Jose Serrano. So what that would indicate that he is looking very confident with those soft compound tyres underneath him. Let's go down to Steve, who's got something on Adam Sassuolo.
Yeah, just been following Adam. In my completely unbiased opinion, I want him to do well, of course, being a British driver. But I think he's done quite a clever thing by starting off on the medium tyre when all the guys around him are on soft tyres. So he's been able to stick in the slipstream for the first couple of laps and just gain a couple of free seconds. So I think watch out for him coming back potentially onto the podium at the end of the race.
That's what the game though, isn't it? Just trying to find that time everywhere, even if it's the start of the race. I mean, when you start on the medium compound car, you still have to accept that there are people in the soft, you're going to get overtaken. But if you can hold him up, if you can stay with him for an extra little bit of time, you wouldn't have had that on your own. So it all works out in the end. It all acts as a positive. Speaking of positive, Coque Lopez, 1 second now clear of Coque Serrano. The slipstream is about 1.2 seconds, and as I say that, he peels into the pit lane. What's he going to do? Soft. Okay, so a free-stop strategy at least then from Coque Lopez. Rick Kevlin doing the same thing, as is Giorgio Mangano. Serrano, though, importantly, opting not to do that.
Yeah, Beauvoir is also pitted, by the way. He's down in 13th position. So that'll freak you out because he's on the harder compound of tyre here now, so he'll be on that for 1 lap and then go off. So yeah, he's doing what Jimmy Broadbent has always infamously referred to as the Miyazono strat, Jimmy.
I've been trying not to call it that anymore. Because apparently, other people can do strategies.
Can they?
That's what I've been told. But if things ended as they were now, it would be Coque Lopez and Serrano at the top of the points order, obviously, given they're out front as well. But more importantly for Coque Lopez is he made a stop onto the soft tyre and he's still in clear air. That is so important because he then gets to go out there and just basically do hot laps, and that's what you want on that soft compound stick.
Here's a duo of Italians squabbling for position. Valerio Gallo versus Salvatore Mariclino. Wonder if those two are going to be nice to one another. Gallo pulls to the inside and goes through into 8th place. Mariclino there not doing too much to hold up his countryman. And let's see whether Gallo is going to be able to get himself onto the back of Manuel Rodriguez before too long. Medium compound of tyre that Gallo is on is a little bit slower, as we know, compared to the softer compound that Rodriguez is on. But let's see whether the difference in driving style and the pace difference is enough for Gallo to close that deficit down. He needs a strong result here. He needs the strategy to go his way, try and make some progress in this race and hold on to the top of the order.
That's right. I mean, the problem when you're trying out different strategies and different ideas is that, let's say with that free-stop strategy, we've said this many times before, it has to be a perfect race for it to work. You can't have a slow stint, otherwise you don't offset that pit stop time. And when you're in that mind frame, maybe getting stuck behind someone, maybe trying to catch someone, trying to hold on to somebody, you start pushing maybe a little bit too hard, and those mistakes start creeping in. Now, Jose Serrano going in for that medium compound tyre. Now, Steve, if we have you there, I'm interested here because he's sort of gone for a different strategy. I think he's going for the 2-stop over the 3-stop. What do you reckon here? Which one is the way to go?
It's really tough to call at the moment. I've seen quite a lot of drivers actually going with a 3-stop already, and I think Gallo is going to do it. He's already done 2, but I think it's too early just to have done two. I think he's going to do a third one at some point. So I think it's going to be quite interesting to see actually which one turns out to be the best strategy.
Coque Lopez, the driver who's now got himself ahead of Jose Serrano. Now here is Kevlin versus Asuilo side by side on the Camel Straight. Then Kevlin on the outside has got the soft tyres on, has got track position, and now inherits third place from the Briton. So Kevlin into P3 then, ahead of Adam Asuilo. Nice move there from the Dutchman. And in front of him is Jose Serrano on that medium competitive tyre. So Kevlin just slowly creeping his way up the order. Bit of a quiet race for him so far, but coming good into the middle stage.
Yeah, importantly there for Lopez ahead of Serrano into that clear air that we said is always so important. But Serrano has his own clear air now, but does have a very fast Rick Kevlin behind him. Here's Adam Asuilo getting a flash there from Giorgio Magno saying, "Get out of the way, mate. I'm not even going to bother trying to be kind this time," and does so straight by. And Adam repays the favour a little bit. Like, "Oh, if you're going to die for me, mate, at least make it through the corner quickly." These guys, I don't think there's anything malicious between them, but they always seem to come together on circuit, don't they?
There's no love lost,
No.
I think is probably the politest way of saying that between them. So Adam Asuilo now into P5. Giorgio Mangano beginning to pull away from the Briton. Then what about the likes of Valerio Gallo, Baptiste Beauvoir? Beauvoir has pitted from the hard tyre. He's now on the softer compound. One wonders whether he is going to be able to do anything to make an impression on this race, or whether that early mistake is going to have cost him very dear indeed. One other factor to mention as well, of course, other than tyres, is fuel consumption. These drivers will have to take fuel on board. It's a longer race, and of course there's the question of when you should do that as Adam Asuilo comes into the pit lane, because do you do it early doors and get that fuel on board, have a heavier car in the early stages, or do you wait until you're running on a thimble of fuel and take it towards the end of the race but not have to fill up quite as much?
Yeah, but firstly things, UZX 2019, what do you expect with a V12 in the back of it? But that, plus it's pushing all that downforce, it's trying to push this car through the air at high speed. It just drinks like Tom Brooks after a GT show, bless him. But
Thank you.
here's Rick
Glowing
Kevlin.
character reference.
Here's Rick Kevlin then, past Serrano up into second place, and Serrano doing the smart thing. I think they're not flying it too much. He knows you have to focus on your race time, not necessarily where you are in the race at each particular time. So you are thinking about that. I mean, Steve, you've been in these races before. You've been in these longer races here. How much of you is aware of that? Or do you get too caught up with what's going on around you? Or you're always thinking of that, right, I've got to make sure the stint is X amount of time, that I'm running the fastest race possible?
Yeah, I think it's something very easy to do is to get caught up in the battle immediately around you. But as you say, and as you correctly say, you really don't really want to do that. You kind of just want to focus on your own race and get to the end of the race as quickly as possible. There's going to be people around you who are on a better tyre or lower fuel, and you sort of have to ignore them and just focus on your own race.
Except if it's in the last few laps, then you just weave.
Yes.
Get out of my way. That's how you do it. So Mangano right now, up behind Jose Serrano again. So that draft will have better braking with these new tyres. Tucked up the inside, again Serrano saying, all right, fair enough, I should go. And Mangano up to third.
Not much point inviting it there for Jose Serrano, although one wonders if he is going to try and close that gap down. You can hear the V12 engines howling as they come over the timeline. They can soundtrack to a Greenpeace rally, those things, as they come in towards La Source then. So Mangano is now with a bit of clear air in front of him. 1.8 seconds he has the gap between himself and Rick Kevlin. And you can see Serrano there just trying to get into the slipstream, just trying to not lose too much time, because if he can latch onto the back of Mangano, it will help him out with his race, because it will just pull him forward, pull him a little bit further away, and perhaps give him a bit more breathing space when Coque Lopez comes in to make that stop. And of course, Coque needed a perfect race. Back to that in a moment. Here comes Serrano, back on Mangano then, up the top of the hill into Les Combes. On the inside is Mangano, side by side they go. Serrano, though, has got track position and shuts the door very firmly indeed. So the Spaniard is now ahead. And of course, we're coming into the part of the track where it's very hard to get past. It's so much one of time through the likes of Ix and Pouon that you can't really find your way through. So it's advantage Jose Serrano once more.
You've got to be careful here though with Serrano. You've got to be careful, because Mangano is just going to send it on that tyre. He knows he's losing time, so here he goes up the inside of Pouon, and they're just both losing time doing this. As Steve and I were saying, that race time is going to be just higher and higher and higher, because they're just squabbling over a position that really doesn't matter. What Serrano really probably should have done there is get in the toe of Mangano, save a little bit of fuel, make sure that pit stop you have when you are putting fuel in is a little bit a little bit faster. But it's easier said than done. When you're in the cockpit, sometimes you just go, right, okay, I've got to go for this move, I've got to do it now. And others, maybe you err on the side of caution. But look in the background there, Patrick Blajan in the soft car as well. He's now catching up with Serrano. Interestingly, Adam Pasquillo has gone for that harder compound tire on this team. The only person running it at the moment. I wonder where he goes from here.
Steve, what do you reckon is the name of the game now then for these guys? How are you going to be playing this? If you were in this position at the moment, what would you be thinking? What would be going through your mind at the halfway stage?
Drive fast, don't crash, pretty much. But I think, yeah.
I'm glad we got him on board.
Just the top tips available from Super GT here today. But it's really just a case of just churning out those laps the best you can, as we alluded to earlier. Just trying to be as consistent as possible as Adam Pasquillo comes in, probably for his last stop. And I think he's going to be one of only a very few drivers going for the two-stop strategy.
And you can feel from the end of it, can't you? Just about. It's quite tight before, I think.
So it's tricky. I mean, this is a good thing about following a driver in front, perhaps, and not finding your way past. You can save a bit of fuel in the slipstream, can't you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he will be wanting to be in his own little space. I think that's what he's doing by sitting there, and it feels like you're there forever when you're just waiting for that fuel to go in, but it has to be done. Let's see where he comes out. So he comes out from 14th place, big gaps in front of him. Just do your times now, all you can do.
7 seconds. I mean, that's Christmas come early there for Adam Pasquillo. That's exactly what he wanted.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm not sure if this is the fastest way around, honestly, but we'll see. This strategy, the two-stop strategy, sort of depends on other people having fights and issues and stuff like that, whereas the free-stop is much more aggressive. It's like, all right, I'm going to go as fast as I can for the entire race, and more, I don't know. We'll see. I'm interested to see what happens here. Coque Lopez, though, doing everything right so far. He's on the free-stop strategy, from what we can tell. 4.8 seconds ahead of Rick Kevelin. All he's got to do now is do laps, but you know what? Coque could win this. I mean, overall, he could win this.
It's a possibility. I mean, we saw he was so close to Jose Serrano. I'd love to have a look at the live point standings as it sits. There we are, right on cue. Thanks, Mr. Director. Appreciate that one. So Coque Lopez would sit with a 4-point advantage over Valerio Gallo. Can you imagine us crowning the EMEA champion of Coque Lopez? I mean, he's just been under the radar all race, all evening, all weekend, whatever you want to refer to it as. And he could come away at the top of the order as it stands.
I can just about see him right now. We've got him in the driver cam on for us in the booth here, and I can see him looking a little bit more up in the seat than usual. He's looking like, okay, I think he knows what's going on as well. This, of course, very much depends on Valerio Gallo. If Gallo manages to get back up the field, then it might not quite be the dream come true for Coque Lopez, but that very much depends on that. And Gallo is going for an aggressive strategy as well. So, yeah, it's one of those races where we don't really know what's going to happen until we get into the last few laps. It's frustrating.
It's a really difficult one to read, isn't it? Here is Valerio Gallo then, the man who was leading the point standings at the start of this race. 2 perfect races so far. It all came undone for him with a very difficult qualifying. You can see him here on the ragged edge of adhesion in P5 on the medium compound tyre. 14 seconds the deficit between himself and the likes of Patrick Blajan in P4. Get the words out eventually. But I wonder how much ground he's going to make. He could be on for a potential top 5 finish, but of course others around him have got to make those pit stops there, whereas he is on a different strategy compared to everybody else here. So let's see what he's going to do and see how it plays out here for Valerio Gallo.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, as Steve wisely said, drive fast and don't crash. That's basically what he's got to do right now, is make sure that he's putting in the best lap times possible. That's all you can do with Valerio Gallo. I mean, he's had to fight through the field. Yeah, that fight with Bo Raj, well, that would have slowed him up a little bit. And same for everybody else right now. Everyone's sort of spread out at this point, and Coque Lopez coming into the pit lane with 1 litre of fuel. Not playing it too close then, Coque.
Rick Kevelin with 2 litres left. Goodness me. I mean, I've had bigger bottles of pop from the shops than the amount of fuel that they've got in their cars.
That this man's a sugar addict.
Yes, very, very good point. Sugar Addicts Anonymous, that's where I need to go. These guys need to get some fuel though, and that is exactly what they're doing. Coque Lopez putting some more soft tyres on his car then. So just having a look at it, he's gone soft to soft on his first stint. He's going soft again. So he's still going to run the medium hard compound of tyres, let's not forget. I wonder whether he's just going to try and do medium for 1 lap and then hard for 1 lap at the end of this one. Steve, what do you reckon on the strategy here? What's Coque's plan? Because going from soft to soft again for a second time, that's a bit of an interesting call.
Yeah, so he's still got to do 2 more pit stops after this. It's a bit of a weird one, going for the 4-stop strategy. I don't know what that's going to be called. We've got the
Coco strat, wouldn't it?
yeah, the Coco strat now, as it shall be affectionately known from now on. But an interesting one. Hopefully, it can work out for him.
We'll see. I'm very sort of, I'm thinking about it because I'm thinking, okay, we're just trying to wear.
I can hear the cogs whirring away inside the head there, Jimmy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm powering up. I'll get there soon. But I really think this is a mistake. I honestly do. I don't think he's done. Either he's not done this on purpose, or he's thinking, right, I know I've got a good thing going here. Let's see what I can do. But 2 stops, and he's got to take some fuel, I imagine.
Do you remember when Igor Fraga made a similar mistake in Paris last year? He went from the soft tyre to the soft compound of tyre, and he had to come in and change over once again, and that completely ruined his race and ruined his weekend, really, because he was on for top honours. I wonder whether Koke's just done that, and maybe it's a mistake he's not selected the compound of tyre that he was expecting. Either way, you can see significantly how much quicker he is compared to Patrick Blajan. Let's see what he's going to do. Is this a tactical decision from Koke Lopez? Is it a mistake?
I think it is a mistake. I think this is I'd like to be proven wrong, but I don't see how this is going to work. You know? Maybe he's just thinking of our lovely Gran Turismo TV team here, because that video of Fraga has over 1 million views. Maybe they're trying to get the same here for Koke. That is perfect.
That's what he needed. Maybe that's what he was hoping for. Try and close the gap down and then get as much clear air as possible.
Now, big old drive fast, don't crash t-shirt now for Koke Lopez. Go as quick as you can. This needs to be Schumacher Hungary. This needs to be every qualifying lap, every bit of speed you can get out of that car now, because he has 2 pit stops to offset. I don't think he has to take any fuel. I'm not sure how much fuel he put into the car when he came in. If he has to take fuel, I'm pretty sure
he took fuel on his last stop. I'm fairly sure he did.
I'm not sure we took as much as he needed to.
Maybe not. Yeah. No, you're quite right. Yeah, this is true.
So we've got to monitor that gap between Lopez and Kevlin. So if the strategy is as we think it's going to be, he'll pit in on lap 19 and then at the start of lap 20, the last lap, to do his hard and medium tyre stints. My brain! Steve, help!
See, can you make any sense of this, Steve? Because we're trying here. I'll come back to you in a moment there, Steve, because it's Blajan versus Serrano, side by side down the Kemmel Straight. Blajan, the Hungarian driver, is now ahead of the Spaniard, but Serrano's not going to take that line down. Blajan squeezes him into the braking zone, side by side into Leykun. Blajan's ahead. Oh, big slide there from Serrano as well, costing him time in the second part of the corner. And now Blajan's got clear track in front of him and some soft compound rubber underneath of him. But, Steve, what do you make of this one then? Because Jimmy and I are frying our brains here trying to work out what's happening.
I'm doing the same. I'm frying my brain looking at this timing screen. But at the moment, Lopez is 13 seconds ahead of second, so he's got a lot of time in hand. It's going to be an interesting one to see how much fuel he has to put in, because you do lose an absolute ton of time when you're sitting there fueling the car. But I think he's going to go for a medium tyre just for like 1 or 2 laps, and then hard tyre at the end for 1 lap. So it's going to be interesting at the end.
And a bit of a project for you, Steve. What's happened to Baptiste Beauvoir? He's down in 11th position. He's been nowhere in this race. Has he made a mistake that we haven't seen? Could you do a bit of investigative research for us and find out?
Yes, well, I've been watching him, and he seems to be lapping quite consistently. I think it's just he lost maybe 3 or 4 crucial seconds with that semi-spin he had into the barrier. But as I said, the drivers who have pitted more are going to come strong towards the end.
Okay, that's interesting. And again, my brain, there's still sparks coming out of my ears at the moment. I'm trying to work things out, but that is the great thing about these races, these longer races, is that we get to a point where we're not really sure what's going on half the time, but we get there eventually. I shouldn't admit that's commentator, should I? Here is Adam Swillow, someone else who has tried something slightly different. He's now behind Giorgio Mangolo. Is this good friend again? They're back together, isn't it lovely? But this time Adam has the advantage because there's a big toe now up towards Leykun. He'll just drive by Giorgio. There you go, past the Italian driver up into 6th position on the faster compound tyre soft tyre. Now, will Giorgio come back a little? If I were Giorgio, I would, because why the hell not? Adam, though, is going to take the inside line. Masterful defending there, just sitting in the apex, making sure there's no reply possible for Mangolo, and now in pursuit of Serrano. Patrick Blajan, though, where's he come from? P4. This is a classic story of punished Blajan, where he had a bad result at our last live event, which was back at Sydney all those months ago, where he unfortunately had the crash when chasing the top two drivers. And now he's back on it. He's using that, I guess, frustration and all the disappointment now to channel it into speed, and is currently lapping one of the fastest in the circuit.
Well, there we are then. Live point standings on the right-hand side of your screen. Coque Lopez would sit with 38 points at the top of the order. He would become the EMEA region champion after our final here and would go into the world final, I am sure, with a very big smile on his face ahead of Valerio Gallo and Jose Serrano, Kevlin and Maraclino. If Tovar finishes where he is down the 11th place, he wouldn't even be inside the top 5. Given how close it was, actually, I wonder what a difference that is going to make for him, because, of course, he's outside the points here. Let's not forget at the moment here, Baptiste Beauvoir, there's double points on offer in this final race. Just getting a couple of points would mean the world to him and would certainly secure his a stronger position for him in the world final as it stands.
Yes, definitely. It's important to get as many points now as you can. Everything helps in this. Any decent position helps, and you've got to think of that. Play the long game, as people have been doing in this race as well. I am really interested about what's going to happen now. I'm desperately trying to work it out. So here's what I think right now, Steve. Maybe we can have a little conversation here. Is that Coque has some fuel to take, but I think what he's gambling on is that he can change tyres in that time and carry that fuel and not really have to spend any extra time in the pit stop taking fuel, if that makes sense.
I'm pretty sure the fuel gets done after the tyres, so
it's separate then.
Yeah, you can't actually gain any time. But I'm very interested to know how much fuel he has. It's going to be the most anticipated fuel stop of all time, I think, when he comes in.
Only on GT Sport. That's all you get here. So for Coque now, he has been extending his lead. He's been lapping the best part of a second and a half faster than Rick Kevlin, which is what he has to do if he's out there on the soft tyre compared to the medium. And so realistically, who are his competitors here? Kevlin, I think, has another stop to take. Let's have a look at what he's done so far. Kevlin's, so Kevin's got to do one more. Blajan is actually good to the end. So the gap really to the next competitor he's worried about is 27 seconds.
That's plenty of time. Unless you've got to take fuel on board, of course.
Yeah.
He just have to make those 2 pit stops. Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Very good point. So he's trying to... what are his lap times? Let's have a look at Coque Lopez. There's a 154.1 last time around. Kevlin was a 155.4, whereas Patrick Blajan, the man who we need to keep an eye on, was a 154.1. So exactly the same lap time as Coque Lopez, riding on board here with the Hungarian driver. If you remember back to our world final last year in Monaco, he was going door handle to door handle with Baptiste Beauvoir for the podium positions. That went down to the final lap of the final race, of the final event of the year. And he is now in very good shape here, is Patrick Blajan, by the looks of things. And Valerio Gallo has slowly been creeping up onto the back of Giorgio Mangano, his fellow Italian. I wonder whether the two Italian drivers are going to be playing a bit of tactics going on here, whether they'll be helping one another or whether they'll just be going foot to the floor and saying, no, sod you, I'm off into the distance.
You reckon that Blajan's going to win this race?
It'd be a very unexpected one. I have to ask you, Jimmy, as well, just whilst we've got a second before Mangano and Gallo go head-to-head. Let's come back to that in a few moments' time. Here comes Gallo down the inside into Leicum, later on the brakes and into 6th position. Soft tyres on the X2019 of Valerio Gallo, making that nice and easy under the braking zone there as well. But out of all of the drivers we've seen over all of the 3 races in this grand final so far, who would be your driver today?
It's a toughie. I think it'll probably have to be Jose Serrano, currently in 4th position, just because he's come into a group of people who have been racing together for a very long time. His first ever live event, and he's consistently been in the top 5.
Impressive and unexpected.
Yeah, I mean, and unexpected too. And I think if you can do that in your first live event, I think there's a very bright future here at GT Sport. So definitely definitely a contender, I think, tonight.
Yeah, we've seen him being very strong in the EMEA region in the top 16 superstars this year as well, and that is proving to be the case once again. So through the right hand of Stabilo 1 we go. Giorgio Mangano beginning to drop back on those medium combat tyres, probably past their best by now, and Adam Tapai on the softer compound is going to be a little bit quicker than him. Coming out of Stabilo and in towards Blanchimont, this is where we should see those soft tyres close up. The braking zone in particular of the bus stop would be an opportunity for him to find his way past, but Tapai goes all the way around the outside of Blanchimont. That's brilliant from Adam Tapai, late on the brakes into the bus stop, and he is through into 7th position. That was very ballsy there from the Hungarian.
That is the racing equivalent of saying, sit down. Like around the outside, you don't worry about that. Using that soft compound to its full advantage there. Mangano just going backwards now in this race. I think his tyres have sort of come to the end of their useful life on those mediums, not quite getting the same speed that he got out of them before. He's having to sort of now just try and get to the end. The strategy did not work out for Mangano, but still time to go yet, still a few laps left here, and as we know from Spa in the Gran turismo events, anything can happen.
Adam Tapai is right on the back of Valerio Gallo here. You can see him in the forefront of your shot going side by side with the Italian, and he takes 6th place away. So Adam Tapai, the Hungarians, are on an absolute charge in the closing stages of this race.
The important thing is that means less points for Gallo. He needs all the points he can get. So our contenders coming into this race, 7th and 9th right now, but it's like way out of contenders. I'm not interested. So that's crazy, and Gallo will be thinking that. Well, these are smart guys, you know, they'll be knowing all the permutations of what's going on that line. He's finished here to get that. And Gallo will not be happy seeing another car between him and Coco Lopez and Serrano at the front of the field. Now, Coco Lopez's gap is up to 27 seconds. No, sorry.
It's come down. Blažen's decreased that gap.
No, you're right. Sorry, Tom. So here we go. We're going to now see what happens. So Lopez comes into pit lane. 2 minutes until he's got to take fuel. I don't think you can do this.
Let's see what happens then. Lopez into the pit lane. Steve, can you see anything more than we can? Can you see what's happening out there? How close are Kevelim and Blažan to Lopez
Well,
here?
it will be very close. What I would say, he only has to do 2 laps. He doesn't have to take too much fuel on. It really isn't much he has to do. Blažan is coming into the final chicane now. He's actually going to be right here, but he does have to make one more stop, let's not forget.
Yeah, here is Blažan then, and there is Serrano close behind. Kevelim, of course, is in 2nd position. I don't think it's going to be enough for Lopez here. I don't think he's got the gap. He's 5.2 seconds.
I think it will.
Yeah?
I think that he's only going to take tyres. He stopped for a good chunk of time there, putting fuel in. I think he's put fuel in to go to the end.
Of course, my apologies. I forgot Kevelim was going to make another stop as well on this last lap. He's going to put the hard tyres on. So it could be enough here, yeah.
Have we seen one of the most inspired strategies since the Miyazono strat? do we have a new one? Do we have a Lopez strat? They'll be coming in and doing 6 stops next time, won't they?
Yeah, exactly.
They will.
They will.
6-stop race, easy. This could be absolutely amazing. So, Steve, gap.
Yeah,
his gap to Blažan.
It was 27 down to 13, so he lost 14, but that's with fuel. So now he doesn't have to take any fuel on, so this one's going to be neck and neck, I think. It's going to be very close.
It is, and it's very close as well. Close behind Marichlino and Mangano going side by side down into turn 8. Mangano is on the outside, Marichlino's on the inside. Crucially, though, the man on the move is Baptiste Beauvoir. He's now through into the top 10, so his race coming good right at the very end of this one. He could be on for 7th position. I think anything else will be a bit of a bridge too far, but that is going to be crucial for the standings here for Baptiste Beauvoir. We need to have a look at the life points rankings as soon as possible, I reckon, once Lopez has made that final pit stop to see how it is going to play out with Baptiste Beauvoir here.
Bear in mind, now Lopez, he is on a slower tyre. He's not going to have that same speed he had before, so the gap's coming down all the time at the moment. So now just over 12 seconds as Lopez will come into the pit lane. He's then got to hold that extra 19 around on the slowest tyre possible, whilst Blažan behind on the fastest. And he comes into the pit lane then, onto that hard compounder tyre, will be just in and out, no fuel. Here's Patrick Blažan coming through the bus stop now. I really think Lopez is going to be ahead coming out the pit lane, but what's the gap going to be? That's the important thing. Here's Patrick Blažan, the Hungarian, coming now down to sort of starting his final lap. Where is Coque Lopez? Still in the pit lane. He's now out the pit lane. What's the gap? Coming around the source. And there is Coque Lopez. There's Rick Kevelim as well. Kevelim's going to get out ahead. Oh, he does. And Blažan waits. Interesting. So Blažan's now got to get by Kevelim and Lopez. He won't gain 5 seconds. I think Coque Lopez has got this.
I think Lopez has got this. I think Kevelim's going to come under some pressure though, because the hard time for Kevelim is going to be very hard for him to resist Patrick Blažan, and Blažan on the Kevel straight goes through into 2nd position. So you called it absolutely perfectly, Jimmy. Coque Lopez has sewn this one up.
Oh my word, I did not see that going. There's the life point rankings. If this finishes as it is, Coque Lopez will smash the competition and win this by 8 points to become European champion. It'll be his first time winning one of these events, but what a way to do it.
Unbelievable. Look at Kevlin now coming under pressure from Jose Serrano. Here, though, is Koke Lopez coming down into P1. I need to keep a look, though, behind because Serrano is really putting that pressure on to Rick Kevlin for the final position on the podium. Here is the Spaniard then. He's on the soft tyre. Kevlin's on the back foot on the hard compound of tyre into the Fanish chicane. Kevlin's going to try and defend, but late on the brakes there for Serrano. Tries to get the long way around the outside. Can he make the move stick? Yes, he can. Brilliant driving there from Jose Serrano. Great respect from Rick Kevlin as well, giving him racing room into there. And the Spaniard is on the podium here in the grand final for the EMEA region. Absolutely fantastic racing we have had all weekend here. What brilliant racing we've had in the final as well. And it does come down to the final lap in the EMEA region. And what a race from Koke Lopez, asserting his dominance in this one around the final corner. And he comes over the line here at Spa-Francorchamps to become the EMEA regional final champion. Classic from Koke. Lajan comes home second. Serrano in third. Beauvoir on the final chicane as well. He's got it all at sea. He's going to lose out on seventh place. The Swillow's lost out. There's big drama at the final corner. Beauvoir comes home second. What's happened to Swillow there as well? And Gallo's lost out. Gallo's down in 12th place. He's out of the points. I don't believe it.
That is disastrous then for Gallo there. I don't know if I think he's done enough to get through, but no point from the double header. Meanwhile, Koke Lopez, I think someone's told him he's done it. He's over the moon, absolutely elated with that. And we are being told there's going to be a Stewart's investigation into that last little bit of action there. But Koke Lopez, undoubtedly the winner there. What a race for Koke.
We can see Baptiste Beauvoir from our commentary position. He looks absolutely incensed with what happened there.
So then race over, and here are our full confirmed race standings. Of course, it's Koke Lopez with that fantastic four-stop strategy, taking the win from Patrick Blajan. Late charge from him put the Hungarian back on the podium where we're used to seeing him. And Jose Serrano, I think probably the story of this entire final. There is third position. Fantastic job from him.
Standout performance, really, wasn't it, from Jose Serrano? No surprise to see him up there at all. Great to see Adam Tapai inside the top five. Salvatore Maraclino with not a bad race at all there for him. Baptiste Beauvoir, Giorgio Mangano, all inside the top eight, as well as Manuel Rodriguez. And Adam Sassuolo, again, really strong qualifying from him. Didn't translate to a strong race result, though.
It was looking good for a while for Sassuolo, but I think he just went down a traditional sort of two-stop route, and it just didn't work out. It wasn't really the right track for it, I think. But, of course, big stories for that going into the race, as we had Gallo and Beauvoir first and second. And we come out of that race, we have Gallo finishing 13th after a last corner incident, and Beauvoir, of course, in 7th, which is, by their standards, abysmal races for them.
I mean, yeah, especially where they were going into it. We thought it was just a two-horse race, really, at the top of the order, didn't we? It turned out to be 5 or 6 drivers who are all in amongst the mix now. It's unbelievable, isn't it? I mean, that last corner incident really kind of defined it for Valerio Gallo. I think he was very frustrated.
What a disaster.
Yeah. You're completely right there, Jimmy. Well, let's go over to Koke Lopez then, talking to Julia.
Koke, how are you feeling? You have won it overall. Could you be happier right now?
So it's just an amazing feeling. I didn't expect to be here. Overall, because the two first races for me were not as I expected. So my only chance was to try to get a good start and to be lucky that Tsutsu and Valerio were not in the podium, and I would have to win the race. And I'm sorry for my mates, because I think Tsutsu spun and Valerio had also some mistake. I would also like to be fighting against them, but I'm so happy because of the victory, of course.
I mean, Koke, the strategy, did you have that strategy with your tyres in mind when you first started it? Did you just pull off the greatest move in like Gran Turismo history, like sneaked it into it? So
I will say, as you know, this was also a combination of the final in the World Tour in New York, and I also got a podium there. But in that time, I also started on softs, but I saved fuel. This time I said, okay, starting on softs, I think is the best. And then I didn't save fuel. I tried to be first, because starting from fifth, I didn't want to have any traffic. So then when I was first and I was leading by more than the time you lose on a stop, I decided to change from 3-stop to 4-stop, just to be more time on the soft tire, because it's the safer way to go. You saw Tsutsu Span was on the medium tire. So for me, medium was more dangerous. So I used another stint of softs instead.
It's everyone here was unbelievably impressed. We're now calling it doing a Lopez. Are you happy with that?
Yeah, of course. It's my first win in a Gran turismo event, like in individual, because I also won in Sydney. So of course, it's a pleasure for me. I'm so happy, and also they are good points for the World Finals as well.
It's all good stuff. You've created your own meta strategy, which is huge. People will write books about it, I'm sure. But Koke, it's been spectacular to watch you drive. A big, big congratulations from everyone here in the studio.
Thank you so much.
Well, an overjoyed Koke Lopez there. I think it's fair to say he seemed pretty happy with that one.
I think he sort of had the same level of expectations we did. He's, oh, I won? Nice.
Well, the incident at the final corner was a big talking point as well. We saw Valerio Gallo outside of the points. He was incandescent with rage at the end of that one. But the stewards have reviewed whatever happened because we didn't see the full incident, haven't seen the full incident as of yet. And they've taken no further action.
Yeah, so basically that means that there was no foul play. We do have the clip now so we can talk through it. It's the first time of us seeing it at the moment. Here it is, Adam Tosquillo going wide there. Beauvoir basically starts off, he gets it wrong, goes onto the curb on the inside. That causes Tosquillo to get things wrong. And in the background, Gallo gets in the power a little bit too early.
Here we go.
Just loops it around. So we'll look at it again now.
Here's with Giorgio Mangano into there. Was there a bit of contact between them? A little bit. Gallo went offline coming into the second part of it. There was a bit from Rodriguez. There was contact with Manu Rodriguez there. Looked like a racing incident from what I could see. But either way, here, Valerio Gallo. Let's see it on board then here.
Gets it wrong coming into the bus stop. Contact of Mangano. And look, here comes Rodriguez. Biff, through I go. And then just trying to get the car going again. This thing's just does not accelerate.
Here we go. Yeah, let's see what happens then. So there's the contact with Mangano coming back on. Here's Manu Rodriguez going up the inside. Opportunist on the curb. It's tricky, that one. I can understand why they wanted to call it a racing incident. I mean, what do you think on it? Where's your take?
I think it's a bit of 3 into 1, really. I don't know. I mean, the factor is, for me, in my opinion, is that Gallo's there. Can't just drive into him and spin him and then drive off.
The thing is, obviously, Rodriguez even was on the sausage curve on the inside. Once you get on there, the car gets unsettled naturally anyway. It's always going to chuck you that little bit wide. But
yeah, but no, that's what it is. FIA has said no further action, which means that we have the final standings for the whole thing. Or the whole bread and butter sandwich?
Possibly. I don't know where on earth you're going with this. Again, you've always got these weird analogies. Anyway, you can see at the top of the order, Koke Lopez sits there, 38 points. If you put a tenner on him at the start of this weekend, I think you'd be in with a nice... I was going to say a nice trip down the pub, but you're not able to do that at the moment.
I wouldn't be back, would I?
No, exactly. That's very true. Jose Serrano making it a Spanish 1-2 there as well. Baptiste Beauvoir, I mean, I think he'll be really pleased with finishing third, given how that last race was. I mean, that was a really difficult last one for him. I mean,
you know Baptiste. Baptiste is sort of an all or nothing kind of guy, so he'll be upset that he didn't win. He'll be relieved he went through though, because really, at the end of things, as long as you're in the top 8 here, you go into the World Final. So that's the important thing.
Yeah, absolutely right. Some other shout-outs as well to the likes of Adam Tapai. Really good second race from him. Patrick Blajan really likes these Red Bull X 2019s, as it turns out. Seems to be coming good in those. Kevlam and Mangano, the last of the drivers who make it through. Sadly, Mariclino, Moisov, Kononen, Rodriguez, Sassuolo, Malki, Salazar and Marcin Swiderick will go no further in the EMEA regional final. So let's take a look, shall we, at some of the other incidents out on track during that race, because it's a bit of an action-packed one at Spa-Francorchamps. So you can see on your screen here, this is Koke Lopez in 4th position, going side by side with Adam Sassuolo. This is on the opening lap. The Spaniard getting himself ahead through the Fagnes chicane. Nice move there from him. This is Baptiste Beauvoir. This could have been what cost him a stronger result in that one. Into the wall on the outside of turn number 9.
It's a defining moment for him. Meanwhile, we had 3 cars fighting for 3rd position. Kevlam Tosquillo and Giorgio Mangano, of course, on different tyre strategies as well. Tosquillo coming out better on that, and Mangano having to wait, a bit of contact between the two again. Here's Koke Lopez. This is the pass for the lead on Jose Serrano, and this was where Koke's strategy started to unfold.
Certainly was, yeah. Koke really did put the bit between his teeth and tried to make a very unorthodox strategy work. Here is Blajan versus Serrano. Nice simple move there, Steve, going up the top of the Kemmel Straight into Les Combes, but Serrano didn't take it lying down, did he?
Thought he fought back around the outside, at least he tried to. That was the traditional passing place at the end of the Kemmel Straight. I think that's pretty much where everyone was going for their moves.
Here with Mangalo and Depay as well. Here it is. This is the sit-down moment we mentioned earlier. It goes right the way around the outside of Blanchimont. He'll be texting Mangalo after the race saying, "Did you see that, mate?" I saw that.
Yeah, we saw that as well. Adam Depay with some very interesting moves being made there. This is on the penultimate lap. This is, of course, Coque Lopez coming out of the pit lane here. And this was one of the defining moments of the race here, Steve, with Lopez coming out ahead of Blajan and Rick Kevelan on the final lap.
Yeah, so Blasan kind of saw him come in and just thought, right, I'll lift off, have a tactical lift, and then shoot back past him on the Kemmel Straight.
So, of course, the Michelin Driver of the Day, a coveted award by all of our drivers here. And we basically gave Steve the charge to pick out of these two particular drivers. Obviously, Jose Serrano, who came from nowhere and has done exceptionally well in the competition, and Valerio Gallo. Now, Steve, what's your thinking in terms of how you're going to decide who is the driver of the day here?
Well, you know, after the first two races, you probably would have gone with Gallo because of, well, his perfect performances, but then kind of dropped the ball a little bit. Well, I say a little bit, quite a lot in that final race. Yeah. And therefore, I think we're going to go with Jose Serrano. You know, first time regional finalist, just did a really consistent, solid performance in all three races.
Yeah, and, you know, obviously it is kind of like that pressure. It's all very well kind of, you know, just having like some fun races at home. But when it's like you must perform right now, to then be able to manage that, step up to the plate and, you know, like really give that performance, you know, it's impressive, right?
A lot of the other guys have done this before. So he's coming in, he's not really sure about this type of racing with this sort of pressure. So he did really well.
Yeah, I thoroughly concur. I think it's a good pick, Steve. So thank you so much for doing that. And we're going to throw it back now to Tom and Jimmy.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed there, Julia. So a well-deserved Michelin Driver of the Day, I'd say.
Yeah, I think so. Definitely agree with that. I mean, of course, as Steve says, Gallo, he did drop the ball. He got the ball kicked over the fence. So I think definitely Serrano, definitely winner there.
Yeah, exactly that. Well, we've had some brilliant racing, of course, in the EMEA regional final. Huge congratulations to Coque Lopez and indeed all of our 8 competitors who have made it through. Don't forget, of course, we've got more action coming along the way very soon indeed. The Americas regional final is here for you next weekend on the Gran Turismo TV YouTube channel. Thank you very much to Julia Hardy, to Jimmy Broadbent, and from myself, Tom Brooks. Thank you very much for joining us. It's been a pleasure, and we'll see you for the Americas regional final next week.